Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Deborah Rise Movement Lifeline Connect platform. We believe in empowering people and are passionate to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Today, the last week of October, we would like to address one of the major concerns that threatens humanity: domestic violence. Since October is declared as the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month, this is a time to acknowledge domestic violence survivors and be a voice for its victims. Domestic violence is prevalent in every community and affects all people regardless of their age, gender, socio-economic status, race, religion, or nationality. Sadly, it is one of the most difficult situations to talk about or to escape from. It is important for each one of us to be empathetic towards the victims. Today, through this talk, we will be raising concern via our counselors and our supporters and via the stories of the victims of abuse. We will be having part 2 of the series next month end, where we will bring in practical solutions to support victims, and then again part 3, where we would like to arrange a face-to-face one-day conference in a resort or a hotel where victims can feel confident and gain their self-esteem by meeting with their counselors and supporters. Dr. Latha Christie and Dr. Anu would be sharing from their heart today their own life stories about overcoming the stigma of domestic abuse, followed by a set of 22 panelists comprised of counselors, victims, and advocates. I request all of you to be there till the end and grace the occasion. And today it is my privilege to introduce the speakers of today's session. Our very own Dr. Latha Christie is a senior scientist from Bangalore. She has been with the government of India for the past 34 years. Latha has completed her bachelor's with honors in electronics and communication engineering and her master's and PhD in aerospace engineering from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Dr. Latha has also authored 6 books and has around 70 publications in peer-reviewed journals and conferences. Latha is a motivational speaker and a certified counselor. Our next speaker, Dr. Anu Binni, who holds a doctorate in engineering, is a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and a life coach. Dr. Anu has received many awards like the Best HR Future Leader Award for Excellence and Indian Legacy Award. She is the first women coach globally certified from India as a Designing Your Life coach. Dr. Anu helps clients who are mostly senior executives, leaders, women entrepreneurs with the tools and step-by-step guide to leaving their failures behind, work on their aspirational goals, embrace their truth, and design a life that will work for them. Dr. Anu is a speaker and conducts special workshops on storytelling for business, brand, and visibility. Now, over to Dr. Latha Christie.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. Dear friends, thank you for joining us in this important journey to eradicate domestic violence. For many of you here, home is the place of rest, away from the office tension, away from the harsh outside world. But for the domestic violence victims, it's not that. For you, it might be a place where you are free to speak, where you have a place of love, safety, security, and support. But for a DV victim, home is a place of danger, a place of willful intimidation by the very person who claims to love them. An abused woman leads a very precarious life. 1 minute, she is held out by her partner as the angel of his universe. And while the next minute, she grovels under his feet like a whipped puppy, begging him to stop hitting her. One day he gives her a lot of flowers and chain. The next day he steps on the flowers and he breaks the chain. Her abuser is also her lover who knows her very well. This makes the victim to get stuck in that abusive relationship for years together. And for many, leaving becomes very dangerous. They need external support, but only a few understand and support them. That is why domestic violence is termed as an epidemic that affects every community, regardless of age, regardless of nationality, religion, economic status, and educational background. It destroys life. It violates the basic dignity and opportunity that everyone deserves. It tears apart families, and children exposed to domestic violence develop social, psychological, behavioral problems. Many become dysfunctional. But still, we are silent. Why? Is it shame? Is it embarrassment? Are we shamed by the stigma? I believe it is time to stop this nasty things that destroys life. Each and every one of us have to become more proactive. We need to restore families. Chances are great that you might be having an acquaintance or a friend who is currently going through a violent relationship. When my life was entangled with domestic violence, I never knew that 1 in every 4 women experience domestic violence. And I thought I was alone, all alone in that situation. With such alarming statistics, we all remain in denial. Abuse is a very critical issue because it is related to the future of our nation. It's not a private family matter, it's a crime. Many think that such violence can happen only for those who do not hold a good job or a great education or a good family setup. But the stories today you would hear would change your paradigm. Anu, you would have heard about her. She has a doctorate in engineering. And when she was going through abuse, she was climbing high in her corporate ladder. And, she underwent abuse for more than 15 years. It looks like a puzzle for us that such an intelligent person chose to stay in for such a long time. Let's first ask her why she stayed. Anu, could you please tell us what made you to get stuck in your abusive relationship for so many years?
Thank you so much, Latha, for this question. It's a very important question when I tend to answer. Looking at everyone who is here, I just want you all to hear it with a very open mind. Lives cannot be mapped one-on-one. There might be some strands which are similar to yours, but I'm hoping that with this entire initiative that Dr. Latha has taken, the way she's brought this entire thing, all that we want is we want you all to think. That's it. So when I'm talking about my life, I think it's very difficult for me to talk in terms of one frame. Though we talk about domestic violence coming at a later stage, somewhere the roots are very much, I believe, in the childhood or in the teenage years and so on. So I came from a family which was patriarchal, okay, and not that they knew they were patriarchal. It is so seamless, It is very seamless. Patriarchal is another thing that appears to be very seamless. So I came there growing up, believing that I have to get married, and I got married. That was my second time frame. In my parental phase, I was trying to fit in. I get married, and again I'm trying to fit in. And that's why, in the initial days, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what was happening because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to do the one thing that we are all meant to do. We are supposed to be married. We are supposed to be having children, and we're supposed to be those good women who take care of their husband and everything. So the entire ownership is on you. You make the marriage work, or you break the marriage. So I think that was the second phase of fitting in. But when things went really wrong, when it was just not possible, I leaned on a lot on God. So that was my third phase, where I started thinking that, okay, there is a spiritual warfare, there is something going on, there's demonic, there's something, everything is against marriage or something, and I need to pray. And I think I prayed, and God was very kind. He answered my prayer. And there was this next phase of my life, which was very good. Though it was short lived, it was very good. We had a lot of things trying to fall in place. Whereas, well, right beginning and ending, if some of the habits are gone, if some of the habits, A, B, C, D, they're gone, everything will be fine. But it is much more deep rooted than that. And slowly, when things started happening differently a little later, when it came to kids, I think there was this third phase where he raised his hand on me. And that is the time I was broken, because I felt that here is a man who's holding the Bible in his hand. He knows it, because before that he didn't know about it. So there was always this benefit of doubt. But if he is a man who knows about God, and he knows about Jesus, he's accepted the Lord, then I think that was not that was not done. And slowly my life had gone through an entire phase, but now it was impacting my children too. So that was the moment, I think, when I felt that this decision was very important. So I guess in all our life phases, we try to adapt and try to fit in. But sometimes there is a phase in our life where we need to break out, and that's what happened to me.
Yeah, okay. But you left that place, right? Was your leaving easy? And could you do it on your own, or did someone help you? And what was the reaction of your church and your own family? How was it? Was it supportive? Can you brief on these points?
I think when I decided to leave, it was not easy. But at that point of time, there was a conscious decision on my side to think beyond me. I think when we are victimized for a long time, we anyways cease to think about ourselves. You don't exist. It's always about somebody else. I think when it came to children, it was easy for me, and I think it's God's grace. It's God's grace that I think I was supported by my children. Somewhere, they started realizing that there's something amiss, and this is not right. And I think my daughter was very, very concerned. She was supportive, and I think that's the point I want to reach out to everyone, that children can be an amazing support when you are weak, and when it is from inside the house, it makes all the difference. So though I did not have support from the outside world, I think my children were there, and they knew what was happening, and they came to a point where they felt that it was wrong. So that is where it started. Yeah, I want to thank my parents for that instance, because till that time they knew about it, but the tendency um, of us is that we believe that prayers can change a person. That's the fundamental belief that we all have. So they thought that praying will help, things will change. And at that point of time, there is no indefinite time frame, right? So whether your prayers are answered in a day, or whether it takes 19 or 20 or 30 or 40, whatever number of years, you still keep on believing that things are going to change. But at that instance, when I said that I need you all to come, and I need you all to take me from here, I think that was the time that they decided, and they came. It took almost uh, some time. It was not that I told them today and then the next day they were there, because eventually they feel that things are going to work out, things will be fine. It's a family and things like that. So one is definitely my children, and yes, Hepzibah, it's very true. Children are indoctrinated. It does make things very tough, and I can really bank on that. And I don't know how, but somewhere I think that's why I said it was a miracle. I can completely write on that. There are a lot of children who are indoctrinated within the house to make it feel very casual, and that's why I feel that even the children, the role of children is very important. So I think I got support from there, and that's my first biggest miracle. The second thing is that though I was not feeling, I had taken it as a part of my life. I think I didn't, I had come, now when I think of it, I think I'd come to a point when I had started rationalizing that it's okay. it's okay. And, I had a girl who used to work for me. And I had, because somewhere I wanted to communicate to this family that I am hurt. If I would talk, it would come back to me, right? So I decided, why not, I stopped eating food. And then because I was working outside, I after some days I was not able to cope up, because at that point of time I was heading, I was in a leadership position. I was heading the learning and development of 8,000 employees, a company of 8,000 employees. So there was a lot of work out there, and I used to eat from outside and come and things like that. But my maid was the one who was working for me. She said, Didi, I can't eat food while you're not eating food. They're nicely, everything is so casual for them. I can't do it. And she quit. For her, the domestic violence she saw, the injustice and unfairness she saw was so much. She said that this is not done. I think for me, that was something that hit me. When no everybody around was feeling it, it's okay. You have to do it. There's not a big deal. Why are you breaking your family and walking out? Of course, it was not so evident. I not shared it much with a lot of people, but my close people for sure. So I think that again hit me, and I said, here is one person here, who feels that that is wrong, and she quit, and she never came back. She's worked for me for more than, I think, 7 to 8 years. Her sister also worked for me for more than 10 years. My children were kids, but they were able to sense the injustice where I and a lot of other people, my family people, were not able to. Then my parents came. They took me out of it. It was not easy at all. And I think because I was hiding this story from my corporate world, I was hiding it from a lot of my friends. It was an embarrassment. It was fear. I wanted to go back. I always wanted to give my relationship a chance. So I didn't want the gossip mills to start playing. So I kind of started living an isolated life. But I wanted to tell them what they had done was wrong. I wanted to communicate that, which I think each one of us should do in whatever possible way. And I moved out. I think that's the time I reached out to the church. I do understand that, I do know that the pastor's life is not easy. Know that. But
Yes.
I feel we need them. We need the body of Christ. We need to feel a sense of belongingness. And, when God said, each one of us, all of us are my children, then it doesn't matter whether I am a DV victim, whether I'm a single mom, whether I am an unwed mom, anything shouldn't matter. Because I think that the strength, the reception that the church gave to me was very, very important. And I think I did have bad experience. I want to be honest here, I did have bad experience. But at the same time, I didn't stop because I knew one of the things that could tide us through this, and like we always say, as for me and my household, we will worship the Lord. If that had to stand through me, I knew that somewhere I had to get back to I needed to tell the children, that the person need to kept searching for a church. I was a lot of places I was said a big no. People were asking me, and it was not easy. But there was a church, and I'm still finding the struggle, because ultimately then I used to travel 2.5 hours from my place to a church which accepted me. And before I went there, I remember going to the pastor's wife and crying and telling, don't send me away from this church. My children need it. And she said, this is your father's house. Nobody's going to stop, neither can I stop. And I think she stood by that word a lot. I think the pastor's wife can come up as a strong support, because she's a safe mom for us. She's a safe sister for us. The women in the church become very important to us, because the more they embrace us, and I feel I was judged the most. I was weighed on a scale the most in the church. but that's the place where we feel we are just, everybody can walk in. And of course, this one church was very special. There was a family uh, who invited us home. There was a couple who always made food for us every Sunday, which made my children feel very special. The first lady who invited us after exactly a year was Treasy, Sister Treasy. She didn't know anything about us. She invited us. I think that invitation, a few good memories that we had helped us survive. But I think a lot of times we as domestic violence victims, when we are not accepted anywhere, we reach out a lot to the church, and we are wounding, we are crying, we are cribbing, we are not easy, we are messy. But I think the church can play a very important role in our entire renovation, because we can come up, but for the children especially, I think that's the role of the church. So I think the strangers were very helpful to me. I have got support from lot of strangers when I moved into this new place. We just bundled everything on a bed sheet and we left. We had nothing. So when we went to this place, and I was not getting a house, somewhere I was, because I was a single woman, I gave my card. I was not allowed. Then somewhere it was because I was a Christian. Somewhere it was because I had teenage children. So a lot of reasons. 16 to 17 houses I was not allowed, and then I started lying. I started telling my husband is in Dubai. And ultimately, I got through one family, and they said, okay, you can come and stay. And just when the sign off was doing, I was not able to live with that lie. So I called up that evening and I told the man, saying that I have been lying throughout. I really, I'm a single mom, and I have been hit by my husband, and I need to leave, and it's going to be a difficult journey. And I don't know from where that man had compassion on me. I can't tell you. He gave the phone to his wife. His wife was a lawyer. That helped. And she said, we are going to be with you through and through. And they were, because even the society where I stayed, they were I have had horrible experiences. I've had, real bad experiences, which can be shared on another time with all of you all. But I went through bad times, and this family stood with me. In fact, they gave a letter to the society saying that if you touch her or do anything, we are going to go along with her to the police station. Because I was timid, I was scared, I was so worried. Two children who were not even knowing how to live alone, they were suddenly in the house. So that whole phase was very difficult phase of my life, and I think I really needed help, and I wouldn't have survived without that. That is Mr. Kalkar's family. They're still with us, and they still are so close to us. And I didn't have even plates. The day I move out, I don't even have plates. I bought 3 mugs for my children, because we are we drink coffee and tea together. And so I bought 3 cups. We didn't even have plates to eat. And I had a lady who fed us for 6 months. And we ate paper plates for quite some time, and because the next day I had to go to work, and I had to act as if everything was normal, because I couldn't take leave and all of that. But that family, and none of them were Christians, but they just felt compassion toward me, and I didn't have to tell details of my story to win their compassion. They just loved me for what I was, and loved me. 6 months, she gave me food, and she never took the money from me. And even today, when I tell her, please take the money, she says, no, that's a gift, because you're a very loving mom. So I think that's the main message that I want to share with you all. A domestic victim, if she gets a support, you're not only saving one life, you're saving the 2 heartbeats of her children and the generations to come. I mean, that's the way you're touching. So that's the role of people. Yeah, I hope. Yeah, Latha, I give it to you. It's just an emotional thing, but
so sad. But Anu, you are not only a survivor, you also have thrived. You are a life coach. You are helping people to design their life, leaving their failures behind. What is it that you would like to share with other victims of DV who are either stuck in abuse or out of abuse? Just in 2 minutes, so that we can go to the next.
Yeah. Yes. I just finish it as fast as a 2-minute Maggie. But I think, see, this is a very personal question. There are a lot of dynamics. So I am not against marriage. I'm against domestic violence. very clear with it. I do believe in the institution of marriage, and I think there is no other way a marriage is defined. As in the Bible, it defines itself as a covenant, where it's not an agreement, it's a covenant. Okay, and the biggest example, the relationship that Jesus has taken is he says, I'll come back, take my bride. There is no other epitome for that marriage. So I am very much for marriage, and I do believe marriages are, is everything. But I'm against domestic violence. And this is a very personal question. So people who are in it, I don't know what will be the reason for it. And so you will need to think through it, whether you want to do it, and whether it is. But it kills the human spirit. It kills the human spirit. It is not just that one slap that you get. It's not that at all. And I think, it is the first response that you give that is very important. First response that you give when it is done to you, that is so critical. And 99% of us, we just absorb it. And later on, then it becomes a crime, because there is a difference between a mistake and a crime. Mistake is that you can forgive, but when it keeps repeating for no rhyme or reason, and it just breaks the person's spirit again and again and again, and eventually she just ebbs away. That's not right. And I'm not talking about women alone. I'm also talking about men. I'm also talking about children. Anybody who is going through domestic abuse. Okay, I'm just standing for that. So whether you should do or not do, that's a very personal question, and you should think through it. I think you should take a break, go about it, and how much it is impacting. Because whether you take a decision today or you don't take, still you're taking a decision. And that's what I told in my TED talk. Nobody gets away without taking a decision. Now, the ones who have taken this decision, I want to congratulate you. I really want to congratulate you, because what is yours will come back to you if it is yours. Your separation for 1 day, 2 day, 15 day, your hitting did not break this marriage, right? So you going away and taking your stance will not change. If your husband loves you, he will reach out to you. He will come back to you. He will do it, because it has to come with ownership and accountability and responsibility. And I think for the ones who are leaving, accept that there will be social stigma, accept that there will be a lot of wrong things. The second thing, there are a lot of things I would have shared, but the second most important thing is start thinking about the network, because the network that you existed with you supported you suffering. And so you cannot get any compassion from that group. So the reason why I was able to do it is because I understood this truth, and the Holy Spirit will give you wisdom. Pray for the wisdom that comes from the Holy Spirit for you to judge. This is the time when you will understand the importance of self-love that God does. And it's not about gender, it's not about male or female. You were created in His image. If you are created in His image, then you better be taken care of, and you deserve to be happy. You really deserve to be happy. You deserve to dream. You deserve to be joyful. You deserve to be happy. And that's what I want to tell to both the parties. But whatever it is, it's a decision. Stand by it. It's not going to be easy, but I think it's a choice. It's a choice where you want to stand. Yeah, thanks, Latha. Oh yeah, I mean, I am just amazed at this woman who is so soft spoken, so gentle. I just fell in love with Dr. Latha because of the warmth and naivness that she has. That's so untouched in her. And based on my interaction, Dr. Latha, I know that you struggled with domestic violence. And you encountered again everything, because domestic violence just doesn't come in phases. It's all everywhere: physical, emotional, financial, etc. But I've never heard you sharing your story so openly. Even when you were sharing it with me, you just shared it, and you said that I'm not shared it with everyone. So, what was the reason? Why is it that you didn't share? And if you can just tell what trapped you and what helped you to come out of the abuse, I'm sure it will be useful to all of these people who are waiting to hear from you.
Anu, thank you so much. I agree with everything you said. And as you asked me that I've never shared, yes, I didn't want to share. It's not that easy to tell our stories. We feel how foolish we had been for so long. I have interacted with a lot of victims who have been again victimized by even Christian leaders or their own family members after their stories have become public. Their true and painful stories have become a place of gossip, a place where some people can enjoy. And so that's why I was so hesitant. And you can make a thriller movie out of many stories like mine, and which I have listened to many others. But as you say, our stories can become a support for many who are going through abuse, and it can help them. That's why I'm going to probably share first time in my life what trapped me and what helped me. So what trapped me? Why did I stay for so long, even more than 20 years? First of all, I'm a person who values a relationship a lot. Being born as the first of 7 siblings, I felt no way out because my moving out will create issues for the marriage of my siblings. I loved my family and never wanted my children also to struggle because of my decision. I hated the word divorce, and I never wanted my children to have that stigma. And secondly, I believed very strongly that God would restore my relationship. I was reminded every time, whenever I felt like leaving, this Bible verse: what God has joined together, no man should separate by many. When I asked a few pastors to pray for my difficult marriage, they used to tell me that some witchcraft had been kept, and I spent enough time finding out who kept that. Even preached using that verse, 1 Peter 3:2, that wives should submit to their husbands, and even unbelievers can be won without words by the chaste behavior of their wives. One pastor, this is really, I'm telling the truth. One pastor even said, even if he kills you, you cannot divorce. So I had no way out. I tried my best. I gave my best. I prayed. I fasted. I prayed. I was sure that change would come. Someday, God will come down, and God can do anything. I was sure of it. But in my life, slowly, I started to understand that there was not any miracle. Finally, I got so angry at God and had my fist against him. I wanted to die every second, and I was thinking of somehow taking my life away. But these Bible verses were taken out of context, and it made me to get stuck in that. That was the second reason. Thirdly, I was somehow isolated, and I didn't have anyone to confide. Even my parents and my siblings who came to my house used to cry, seeing the things that was happening to me, but they never confronted. They strongly believed that divorce is a sin and that family is most important than anything. So I found no way out. Fourthly, I believe that I was the very reason for the abuse. After every episode of violence, I believe that I could have been little more wiser. I felt that I had the power over others' feelings. I had the power to make others angry, make them crazy, and to break their heart. After all, I should have worked a little more harder. I should have spent little more time cooking better dishes. I should not have been that childish. I thought something was wrong with me. In my codependency, I got enmeshed, and I never felt that I was a separate person. That's why I allowed others to define me, to dictate my decisions, to take advantage of me. For me, life was all about survival. To survive in an abusive home, you never rock the boat, right? That's why I never stopped the cycle. I just could not leave. But a single question used to pop me all the time. Why? Why is this happening to me? What did I do? I'm trying to do everything I can do. I'm asked to do, but why? I could find no answer for that. Now, for the next question of yours, what brought me out? I think it was purely God who came in search of me at the lowest point of my life. It was a very slow process. After around 17 years of living in that difficult situation, I had forgotten to smile. I even forgotten to pray. I was angry with God. I could not sleep even up to 2 a.m. For almost 3 years, there was no meaning in my life. And slowly depression started to set in. I lived in mental torment, and that made me feel lifeless, sleepless, empty. I wished death every moment. I was one step away from insanity. I felt like running on the roads towards some cars, towards some railway crossings. But I remember my sons and I used to walk back home. I had registered for my PhD in IISc. And when I was writing my exam, and I got high fever. And because of my exams, I never bothered. And when I got admitted at Malya Hospital, Bangalore, I was gasping for my breath. And the doctors, to the horror, found that I was struck with a massive pneumonia. And my both lungs had almost gone. I myself wanted to die. But the hound of heaven was on my trails. Jesus, whom I thought had forgotten me, came in search of me. In that deathbed, I saw the vision of cross of Jesus. Each and every sin I had done came in front. The blood of Jesus was poured upon that. And I could see everything completely vanished. What can wash away our sins? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Not a voice that I'm giving you new life. This crystal clear voice of God was heard 3 times. All the 5 days I was on the ventilator, I felt someone embracing me. That love which I have never felt, I got at that time. Death lost its power and Jesus gave me victory. I understood that I was redeemed with the precious blood of Jesus Christ. I was healed very soon and I returned back home from the hospital. I used to feel that someone was waking me up early morning and asked me to read the Bible. I took the Bible and at 3:30 I started to read. Even, I started dancing. I love dance. I dance everywhere. So I started to dance. I come to you and come to the garden alone. He walks with me. He talks with me and he tells me I'm his own. This experience transformed me and Holy Spirit became my everything. I took immersion baptism, got a good church. Now I decided I can fight Satan who destroys my family. And now I can do it more boldly. I was meditating on the verse given in Matthew 5, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of God. And so I stopped crying. I stopped fretting. I was thanking God. I am the saint now sent by God to change someone. So the second phase of my life was spent acting as the angel of God. Then came one day a great blow that left me bleeding from the head. And I understood that I would be disabled for my life. Something struck within me that I can't take it anymore. I needed to escape somehow. Afterwards, it looked for me as though that God started to fight every battle of mine. He was there with me always. One day, a colleague left a newspaper cutting on my table that had the write-up about domestic violence. First time in my life, I understood that there are many who are like me, and I was not alone. Soon, one day, my parents and my brothers came to know that I'm not only suffering from abuse, but also from betrayal. So they came and they confronted him because they wanted to save my marriage. Then we went to a counselor. He also confronted. And also I got emotional support from my brothers, and even my pastor son gave me emotional and prayer support for almost 2-3 years. Still he got married and became busy in his ministry. So one after the other, supporters came in, but they all came in to strengthen me in my present situation. No one advised for separation. During the time, I met Sharanya Hegde ma'am, who has established a shelter home, Mahila Dakshata Samiti, close to my office. So I went and met her. She wrote letters on my behalf. She gave me confidence. She told the stories of many girls who have been disabled for lifelong because they chose to stay for a long. And she has told me that how every victim escaped. So even one of the teachers in my Bible college prayed with me and said how my case is 100% biblical. And so I need to move out. But still I had a doubt. I didn't know how to live alone. So I took 5 days away from everything. I spent in a place where me and God were sitting against each other. And I prayed and prayed. God gave me this verse given in Isaiah 52:2. Shake yourself from the dust. Rise up, O captive daughter of Jerusalem. Loose yourself from the chains around your neck. That's enough. I decided to move on. However, moving was very difficult. I could not escape easily because my family believed that divorce is a sin. They did not help me in my divorce decision. They helped me and strengthened me, but not in my divorce decision. So I Googled, drafted how to make a divorce petition. I myself went to court alone and finally got mutually divorced. And when my second son crossed 18, and so there was not a much hassle. So around 11 years have passed since I received the paper. That's the way I moved out, Anu.
Wow, that's so inspiring. In fact, yeah, that's true. In all this, I think one thing, one thread is very, very clear. Even when I moved out of that house, I didn't pick up much, but I picked up my Bible. And I think the presence of God, and we're so lucky to know Jesus, and we're so lucky because His love gives us the entire strength, and He keeps bringing people into us. And I can completely agree with Dr. Latha that you will never be alone. I don't remember a minute in my life where I was alone. That promise that no, I will never forsake you nor leave you. And He addresses and meets us in our time of need through pastors and all of them. I think that's so nice. And now when you're thinking about the church, and when we think about a church where people like to bring up that entire complete family picture, and you being a single you being a divorcee, how is it that you were able to break that entire social stigma and still stand up and actually do the work of God?
Yeah. So when I received the divorce papers in my hand while driving back home alone, no one knows the tears I shed. I cried to God. I prayed so many years in my life. I asked you to strengthen my marriage, but here is the paper. What am I supposed to do? How will I live? What will be my future? I don't want the word divorcee attached to me. I never informed my office for almost 4 years after receiving the paper. I put my status everywhere as married, even after 8 years. I was scared of the cruel world outside. In church or in prayer meetings, when people used to ask me, "Where is your husband?" I used to shiver. And one day God showed me the verse given in Isaiah 54:5. Your maker is your husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. Then I started to feel that the Lord of the angel armies is standing by my side and he is holding me. One day, a pastor asked me in one conference, "Where is your husband?" And I told him, really, please read Isaiah 54:5 and you will find his name. I understood that I have intrinsic value and not an extrinsic. I'm made special and I'm unique. I'm unconditionally loved by the creator who created the vast universe with its multiple galaxies. This understanding boosted my self-confidence. There was no need to fear anyone. But life after divorce was not that easy. Everyone who supported me became so busy as they had their own life to take care. I did not know how to manage funds, how to drive my car, how to manage two teenage boys. With I kept my gold and muthoot, and I used to go every month to pay interest. My balance was zero. My every focus was on my boys. Every time before and during their exam, I started to pray. Somehow, by God's grace, they studied well. Christ was there in every step of establishing my life again. His presence comforted me whenever I suffered from PTSD and depression. I used to get in the middle of the night, shout in fear because I had a lot of fear. Somebody's giving me problems or hitting or whatever it is. Through it all, Christ became so close. The cross of Christ empowered me not only to forgive, but also helped me to emerge from that pit.
This is again a message to each one of you all. It is better to trust in the Lord. When you started, when you came out of the relationship 15 years back in divorce, did you think of remarriage, or I mean, see, there are some people who are comfortable, who are not really interested in marriage, because I think they found their vocation, they found their mission, they've started doing things of their own, and that's where they're very comfortable in. I mean, for people, probably for people like me, I would dread marriage. I would be like, I am happy this way. But at the same time, there are definitely women around here who would like to want to find a new partner. Maybe they've had some good instances of their marriage life and they look forward to it. So, why did it ever occur to you that you should think of remarriage, and did you ever consider? I mean, if it's sensitive, you can
Yeah,
avoid the.
so my divorce happened around 11 years back. My first preference was to bring my sons in ways that are pleasing to God and to give them a good education. So I forgot myself. My full energy and focus was on them. God had been good to me and helped me to bring my sons in his ways. And both my sons got good jobs in the USA, one as an engineer and the other as a doctor. And the second reason was my church and my members of my family thought that divorce is a sin. So no one suggested me remarriage. And also the third reason why I did not consider is I was writing the book When the Flame Flickers, and I've written clearly the failure rate of the first marriage is 40%. The failure rate of second marriage will be 70%. And I cannot allow my heart to break anymore. Once broken and now repaired by God, I thought, let me not jump from a frying pan to fire. But it was a painful thing to be alone for me. Many times I have struggled with utter loneliness and cried out to God, God, me and these four words. Why, God? Why? What did I do? Those lonely moments, God brought me so close to him and he has guided me, but living a single and divorced life is not that easy. Once I got a phone call from nowhere, from different numbers, from somebody calling me again and again with one sentence, hey, I want to marry you. Initially, I used to shiver and cut the call. Then I told my sons, they are far away and they used to get so scared. And the frequency of these calls started to increase. It never allowed me to drive. So I finally got the confidence to inform the police, and some police officer took up, and I told I'm so and so. He connected me to the police commissioner, and so finally they tracked, and that person was in some hotel working for something. I told him, let him never do that to any other lady. They threatened him and they left him, I felt. So these sort of problems people face. So what I did is I prayed to God to remove my loneliness, and God did that. God himself met me at that point when I did not know which way to turn and I was unsure of my future. I found the most intimate of friendships that I will never ever trade. I was not sure of the purpose. He gave me certainty, sure of my destiny, and the cross of Christ empowered me. And not only to forgive, but also to emerge. We can finish one last quick question and then we need to go to the panel.
That you were a preacher and a Bible teacher. And how is it that the Christian people were able to?
Yeah, this is a very important question. So that's why I wanted to take this question and then we'll go open up to the panel. So yes, I faced problem as a preacher and a Bible teacher because I enrolled myself as a Bible woman some 8 years back in Assembly of God, where women remain as Bible women, but men go as Christian worker to pastor and to reverends and others. I used to attend all pastors' meetings, and while returning, I used to cry a lot as I used to feel very alone. I was an odd person out there. Everyone would come with families, and I used to drive there alone. I used to cry out to God for what you created me. Why did you create me? And why did you give me this passion to preach? And while in official friends, wherever I go, I never felt alone. In Christian meetings and gatherings, I felt all alone. I was passionate about preaching. That's why I joined SABC Southern Asia Bible College. And then I finished as the first distance learning student. I worked much harder, got up early morning, did my assignments, did MA Christian Studies, thinking that someone would one day call me to some other place. And I did apologetics with RCCA, and I also finished a leadership program at George Washington University. And then I did counseling program for alcoholics and drug addicts with Word of Counseling, Wichita, US. But I felt all doors were closed. I was single, I was divorced. I entered into the second phase of depression with no friends to speak to, with no one to share, with nowhere to go, and no way I can do God's work. And I cried so much. One day, early morning, God spoke to me two things. Is this ministry yours or is it mine? Do you want to do my work or do you want to show your talent? The second he asked us, why do you look to people for your needs? I am the God who created so many galaxies. Will I not be able to provide your needs? I understood that day I had been wrongly pursuing. With tears, I cried out to God, God, you're my focus. I wanted to enjoy you as my bridegroom. I worshipped, I danced, I listened. God and me, He became everything. Slowly, my countenance changed. He transformed me. He gave me a burden for people. Last 3 years, every door was open. Every weekend, people used to book flights and made me to preach in various places. Last year, God helped me to start this Deborah Rise. With 12 women, now we have 1,000 people. We have the counseling center through online. You can do it for free, and you can just write to us through deborahrise.org, and you would get any counselors for any of your needs freely, and they do with passion. That's why I wanted to tell with this verse, to appoint and beauty for ashes and joy for mourning and a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. That's what God gave me. So my longings, my hopes, my dreams, my every effort should be to live for Him who rescued me, to serve Him who fashioned me, and to speak for Him who gave me a voice. I want to tell each and every one of you, do not allow anyone to silence you or take your power or take your self-respect, your dignity, your voice. If they do it with love or with fist, authentic love does not demean, does not silence, it does not shame, it does not abuse. If you or someone you love are living in abuse, I would like to say to you today, it's not okay to remain in abuse. It's not your fault. You deserve love and support. So this is my dream of a world where one day every woman will be valued and treated like a queen in her home. I dream of a world where every home would be a safe home, and love in action will not be mistaken for black eyes and blue stars. That family violence is no longer the norm. Thank you.